It's always interesting when the Cats and the Gators get together, this time in Lexington, and Kentucky Blue at 4-0 takes its first shot in the SEC. We got Kevin McGuffey here from Last Word on College Football to break down an important one in the SEC Eastern Division. Kevin, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks for having me on again. As always, it's great to come on and talk some SEC and Kentucky football. And as you said, should be a really good game this weekend. So looking forward to it.
Devin Leary, of course, much ballyhooed coming in from NC State through the transfer portal. Not a great start for him. 15 of 29 this past weekend against Vandy and a wide receiver core that had a lot of pub coming into the season. So I got to think after 4 games, they're starting to find some rhythm.
Right. Yeah, I thought something that we all kind of thought here was the fact that like the first couple of games, Leary seemed to struggle, and we're wondering if he's working off, some rust. Basically, after being out for he hadn't played since in almost a year. They did have done some really good things. They started off great against Vanderbilt, running out to that early 21-0 lead, and then I don't know if they just took their foot off the gas. What happened there? But kind of let Vandy. Not that Vandy was going to win, but let it get a little closer than it should have. But yeah, he didn't have the best game against Vandy with 2 interceptions. So we're hoping the Big Blue Nation is hoping this is the week that everything comes together. The receivers, the super sophomores, had struggled a little bit, but Barron Brown and Dane Key both had pretty good games on Saturday. So hopefully everything is trending upward, and which is what you want when you had this rivalry. As I call it a rivalry game, especially now against Florida, as Kentucky's looking for a third straight win. That would be the first time since I think is the early 1950s Kentucky would have beaten Florida 3 straight, and then 4 out of the last 6. And if we're being honest, Kentucky probably should have won that 2019 game as well, but we'll let that one go. But so Kentucky's got a really good chance, especially playing at home. I think they're going to get the job done. Spoiler alert: I'm going to pick Kentucky to win. So.
Mark Stoops continues to reach milestones that haven't been reached in a long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ray Davis, in an offense that typically has had in recent years with recruiting improvement, 2 or 3 backs that have been quality SEC backs, but this is pretty much the Ray Davis show, it appears.
Yeah, he's that was one thing that it kind of surprised me, because when you and I talked earlier in the season, actually before the season started, we talked about how Kentucky could maybe go 4 or 5 guys deep at the running back position, but it's been a whole lot of Ray Davis. Juton McClain had a really good game against Vanderbilt, broke off, I think it's a 36-yard touchdown run. But I mean, other than that, if you look through the stats, Ramon Jefferson has played some. But then you have our buddy Demi Sumo, the North Carolina State transfer. But yeah, it's been the Davis show, and you go back even, of course, last week he was playing against his former team. I think he was a little hyped for that one, maybe even a little too hyped for that one. Just throwing an opinion out there, but. Overall, he's definitely been the guy. 314 yards, averaging 6 yards carry, and he also has 10 receptions for 137 yards. And then in the game 2 weeks ago against Akron, became the first, as long as they've been keeping records, he was the first UK player to have a 50-yard run for a touchdown and a 50-yard reception for a touchdown. So that's something that had never been done before at the school that he pulled off a couple weeks ago. So they're going to need him to run the ball, have a good running game on Saturday night. I think you could say this with any game. I think Kentucky's offensive line versus Florida's defensive line, whoever wins that battle up front, thinks is going to have the advantage, obviously, in that game. And the same thing on the other side of the ball. Florida's offensive line versus Deion Walker and Octavius Oxendine up front. If they can get in there and disrupt, Mertz doesn't throw the ball all that much, but when he does, he's really effective. To disrupt him, and then maybe disrupt Etienne in the backfield. like I said, I think he's got a good shot.
Speaking of the big blue wall, Kevin, uh, this has been a strength of Kentucky, but not last year. Protecting the passer, creating running lanes, a down year for the Kentucky offensive line, but it was supposed to be improved this year. What would you say to that after 4 games?
I think it's better than last year. The biggest thing that's probably hurt is the very first game of the season. Kenneth Horsey, one of the starting guards, coming back for another year. One of the super taking advantage of his COVID year, got hurt in the first game, so that kind of threw things out of whack a little bit. Dylan Ray, who was a transfer from West Virginia, has come in and done a really good job on the offensive line. Again, I think using the phrase, I think they're still a work in progress. I think they're still getting everything figured out. And let's face it, but for the most part, with Kentucky's early season schedule, you don't know. Sometimes you don't really know what you have until you get into the conference play, because you had two MAC teams, and then Eastern Kentucky, who's an FCS school who Kentucky struggled against for a third time in a row. But I think overall, I think the offensive line has been better. Last weekend, in the offseason, they swapped Jagger Burton and Eli Cox. Cox had been the center. They moved him to guard. They moved Burton from guard to center. This past week, they switched it back because they had some issues with snaps against Akron, and I think that helped. Overall, I think they get Horsey back. I think the offensive line again has nowhere to go but up. So hopefully for the Big Blue Nation, that starts this week. Now, we don't know if Horsey's going to be back. There was talk he could play. I don't know. It may be another week or so. But anyway, Dylan Ray has done a really good job filling in there in the offensive line.
Kevin McGuffey's here. Last Word on College Football. Get on over there to Last Word on College Football. Check out Kevin and the rest of the crew. And also join us on either Patreon or YouTube channel membership, so you get the same benefits on either one, so you don't have to need both. But patreon.com/MarkRogersTV, you can get my picks there, or as a YouTube member on the main channel. 15-5 against the spread last weekend, and we've got our guy Steve Merrill, who's 16-1 against the spread, giving us an under the radar exclusive every week. So he has been on fire, to say the least. I'm going to make a prediction here that Maxwell Hairston is not going to keep up the pace of 2 pick sixes every week.
Now, it would certainly be nice for Brad White in the defense if that were to happen. But yeah, he was 2 pick sixes against Vandy. I think he was the first Kentucky player, I believe, to ever do it, and first SEC player since 2015 to have 2 pick sixes in one game. And then obviously got named as the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. He's a guy, obviously, that Kentucky's needs a big game from. I think I mentioned Oxendine and Walker up front, and then you throw in Trevin Wallace and De'Aaron Jackson at the linebacker spots. I think they're going to need good games from all of these guys to pull out a win. I think Kentucky fans have gotten. It used to be, well, we hope we play well against Florida. We hope we can, maybe we can beat Florida. Now it's like Kentucky fans are expecting to beat Florida, which is something 10 years ago you never thought would have happened. But with, as you mentioned earlier, with what Stoops has done with the program, you've gone from Kentucky being here and Florida being here, where they feel that they're even. And the last few years has certainly been some really good games. They're always close, and there's always something really, something weird happens in every game. It seems like that somehow, whether it's a starting quarterback getting hurt for Florida, or the officials missing a delay a game, or Kentucky blocking a kick 2 years ago, running it back for a touchdown that helped provide the final margin of victory when they beat Florida. So who knows? Something crazy will probably happen and probably have an effect on the outcome of the game. It's just a matter of what that is.
I would not be surprised. Not surprised at all. Florida's 3-1. They've got a big win under their belts against Tennessee at home, and you got Kentucky at home taking on the Gators. Again, a rare noontime start, Kevin, for these two.
Yeah, we were I saw this online somewhere that I think, with the exception of the 2020 COVID year, Kentucky and Florida played early. This is like the first time in 20 years almost that Kentucky and Florida have played a noon game. It's either always been a night game or there was a couple years where it was a 3:30 SEC game. So Stoops was asked about that in his press conference. Said, "What do you guys think about having to play a noon game?" And he said something along the lines that, "Well, I have no doubt that the Big Blue Nation will be able to pound out a few beers and early in the morning and be ready for to get rowdy on Saturday." They're doing one of those special T-shirt kind of things where one side's supposed to wear blue and the other is supposed to wear white. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll get that they'll get that together. Sometimes we know those don't always work, but yeah, it's really rare. I made the comment on my my Twitter page or my X, whatever you want to call it, that the SEC scheduling to me has just been a little weird this year because like Kentucky and Florida has always been a night game. As long as we can remember, SEC Network, 7:30 game or even ESPN, and then Kentucky and Georgia has always been like the 3:30 CBS game whenever they played. But next week that's it's a night game. So, but it's a rarity with Kentucky and Florida playing in the day. And like I said, it's already a sellout. That was one of the 3 or 4 games that had already sold out before the season even started. So Kentucky fans will be there early and be ready to go, and hopefully for the Big Blue Nation celebrate a victory.
Yes, and for Big Blue Nation, before they can celebrate the victory, they've been given their marching orders by Coach Stoops to take one for the team, pound down a few early, and get rowdy for the Gators.
Right. Now, I don't know because he said beers, but it is Kentucky, so maybe it should have been bourbon. Since we are the famous for the bourbon, but I'm sure beers will work just fine too. So.
All right, Kevin. Appreciate you being here. Should be another good one.
Yes, sir. It should be. Like I said, looking forward to it. Should be a great game. Like I said, I'm gonna say Kentucky by 3. We'll say 24-21, and we'll see. We'll see if my prediction comes anywhere close after the game on Saturday.
Well, considering the Gators are a 2.5-point dog, that's a close call, close shave, Kevin.
Right. And no, I'm not very good. I will be the first to admit, like picking games straight up, I'm not too bad at, but like against the spreads and stuff, I still struggle with that. But maybe one of these days I'll get it. So
it's not easy. It is not easy. All right, Kevin, enjoy the game. We will catch you soon.
All righty, sounds good, Mark. Thank you very much for having me on again. I really appreciate it.